Our snippet of Scripture for this morning reminds us of the truth that God is willing and indeed that God speaks to us by any means necessary. Joseph and Mary did not have the most idyllic life, as most folks back in their day did not have the most idyllic life under Roman oppression. They'd had their child, and now Joseph was being warned in not one but multiple dreams to get up, to take his child, to take his wife, and to flee and to find safety. And even in the midst of Joseph fleeing and receiving this God direction, words from God through the gift of an angel, I imagine there still had to have been fear present for Joseph and for Mary as they left time and again to find a place of safety. One of the first things that a rector has to do when coming into a congregation is to learn and to garner trust by the congregation. And I think an even easier way to describe this isn't to talk about me, but to talk about the role of a minister of music, and not just a minister of music at large, but in particular when the minister of music is directing a choir. Have many of you either sung or played an instrument or done something where you've had a director to follow? Yeah? Thank you, Hux. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So what happens when I come in as a new rector anywhere is I do my best to be present and to do my best to gain your trust so that when multiple years later I say I think that this might be a good thing for us to be involved in, I have the trust of the congregation that we can move forward together. A director has to do that as well, but the director has the advantage of, they're supposed to follow the director, because if they don't, then what happens? It's a big mess. I was getting ready to say a holy mess, and I don't even know that it's a holy mess. If the director is directing a certain tempo, and I remember when I was in high school band, I had a different idea about the tempo, and the band director didn't know what he was doing, and we needed to go at my tempo. It just sounded awful. I sounded like a jerk because I know how to follow time, and it was not a pleasant experience. I needed to quickly right myself, and the band director rightly reminded me of that. I think the easiest thing for us to recognize, the easiest way sometimes to think about our relationship with God is think about our relationship with God as a director. And I know sometimes in this congregation and with the choir, I've heard people talk about the director being a benevolent dictatorship. That is not what I'm talking about at all. God being the director who loves us, who knows the tempo of our lives, who knows the volume that we should be at, who knows when the staccatos happen and when all the other different musical things happen, and can bring that out of us, that we are to trust God, our director, that we are to watch. That was the other difficult thing for me when I was young and in band, was in order to be able to follow tempo, I have to have my eyes on the director. I can't be staring off into space or be looking at the flutes in the first row. I have to have my eyes on the director to be able to follow that tempo. The same thing goes for us in our relationship with Christ. Joseph, I believe, was able to hear that angelic message in that dream because Joseph was in connection with God, and more importantly, God was in connection with him. And what Joseph did that we all are to do is that Joseph was willing to listen to God. He heard God, and then, thanks be to God, he responded to that angelic message appropriately and took Jesus and the Holy Family and went. I want to invite us this year. I know that it's January the 2nd, and everyone's doing all this. Many of us are doing all these different things to lose weight or to be better organized or whatever your thing is or your things are for the new year. What I really want to try and do for this year is to fully abandon myself to God, to allow God's love to direct the music of our own lives. When we listen and when we watch the director appropriately and when we follow the direction that the director gives in our lives, life generally goes a lot better. Life doesn't always go perfectly. I may still disagree. There were times when I would follow along with the director and band and think, I still don't like the tempo. He's still wrong. But it sounded a lot better when I followed this band director's direction. I think the same thing is true with our relationship with God. We may be told no of certain things. Sitting on the Commission on Ministry, When people are coming forward for the ordination process, they might want to feel called to be a deacon or a priest. There's typically 3 responses. Yes, we feel you're called. Or no, we don't feel you're called. Or you might be called, we're not so sure. Go away for a while. We are still with you. Do these certain things and come back to us. You're not quite called yet. Come back into the fold and we'll continue to talk. We may not like the response that we always get when we follow God, the director of our lives, but we will be in the flow of following Jesus closely. We will know that we are loved and that we are beloved. And when we follow and listen to our director, we know that we are in God's holy mysteries, that we are following the way of the cross, and that we may live the gift of Christmas of God's love incarnate throughout the rest of our lives. Amen.